Watching horror movies based on fictional stories sure is fun, but nothing brings a cold chill down the spine like that famous based on true events sentence that appears before or after a movie. In this video we are going to name some of the most chilly movies from 2010s that were based on actual events. Bear in mind that this is not a top 10 list.
You guys ready?
The Sacrament from 2013. This film uses a found footage approach to tell the story about a real-life event, the 1978 Jonestown Massacre. The massacre involved a cult leader, Jim Jones, who led his followers to take part in a mass murder-suicide ceremony. Many of them were willingly poisoned with cyanide, while others were forced to do so at gunpoint. The final death toll was 909 people, a third of which were children. Veronica from 2018. This Spanish horror film tells the story based on real-life events that took place in Madrid in 1991. A teenage girl died under mysterious circumstances after playing with an Ouija board at school, trying to contact her friend's deceased boyfriend. After the seance, she started having hallucinations and seizures and died soon after. The cause of her death still remains a mystery. Some sources say the house she used to live in became haunted after her death.
That guy's been staring at you all night.
Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile from 2019. This movie chronicles the crimes of serial killer Ted Bundy, who targeted young women throughout the 1970s and possibly earlier, from the perspective of Liz, his longtime girlfriend, who refused to believe the truth about him for years.
Did you do these things?
Absolutely not.
Close the door, please. We don't want to be disturbed, do we?
The Rite from 2011. The movie is based on the book The Rite, The Making of an Exorcist. The book itself is based on actual events that took place in Rome, where an American priest, Gary Thomas, was undergoing training to become a Vatican-certified exorcist. The book chronicles his experiences during training. In the making of the film, he was hired as an advisor. My Friend Dahmer from 2017.
I now present to you Jeffrey.
This movie tells the story of a young Jeffrey Dahmer struggling to fit in his high school in the 1970s. Dahmer was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. Many of his murders involved necrophilia, cannibalism, and other gruesome crimes. He was arrested in 1991, convicted of 15 of the 16 murders he had committed in Wisconsin, and was sentenced to 15 terms of life imprisonment on February 17, 1992. Dahmer was later sentenced to a 16th term of life imprisonment for an additional homicide committed in Ohio in 1978. On November 28, 1994, Dahmer was beaten to death by a fellow inmate at the Columbia Correctional Institution in Wisconsin.
I'll do everything, that you need.
This happened more than once.
Compliance from 2012. The story is based on a strip search phone call scam. The scam consisted of a series of incidents mostly occurring in rural areas of the United States that extended over a period of about 12 years, starting in 1992. The incidents involved a man calling a restaurant or grocery store, claiming to be a police officer, and then convincing managers to conduct strip searches of female employees and perform other bizarre acts on behalf of the police. Over 70 such occurrences were reported in 30 US states until an incident in 2004 in Mount Washington, Kentucky, which led to the arrest of David Stewart. Stewart was arrested but soon released of all charges. Police reported that the scam calls ended after Stewart's arrest.
Welcome to the experiment.
The Quiet Ones from 2014. This is a story about a university professor and a team of students who conducted an experiment on a young woman, uncovering terrifyingly dark, unexpected forces in the process. They were attempting to prove that poltergeists are manifestations of the human psyche and not supernatural beings. It is loosely based on the Philip experiment, a 1972 parapsychology experiment conducted in Toronto to determine whether subjects can communicate with fictionalized ghosts through expectations of human will. The Snowtown murders from 2011. The movie is based on true events when a 16-year-old fell in love with his mother's new boyfriend and his crowd of self-appointed neighborhood watchmen, a relationship that led to a spree of torture and murder. The Snowtown murders, also known as the bodies in barrels, were a series of murders committed by 3 individuals between August 1992 and May 1999 in and around Adelaide, South Australia. A 4th person was convicted of helping dispose of bodies. The trial was one of the longest and most publicized in Australian legal history. Most of the bodies were found in barrels in an abandoned bank vault in Snowtown, hence the name given in the press for the murders. Although initially the notoriety of the murders led to a short-term economic boost from tourists visiting Snowtown, it created a stigma with authorities considering to change the town's name.
Hey love, do you want a lift? Oh, are you sure? Yeah, let's jump in.
Hounds of Love from 2016. A 2016 Australian crime thriller about a woman who is randomly abducted from a suburban street by a disturbed couple. As she observes the dynamic between her captors, she quickly realizes she must drive a wedge between them if she is to survive. The film is based on real-life Bundy murders of 1986, when an Australian couple murdered 4 women at their home and attempted to murder a 5th. These crimes were referred to in press as the Moorhouse murders after the Burnys' address.
Something terrible happened here.
The Conjuring trilogy. The 3 films released in 2013, 2016 and 2021 respectively all revolve around real-life cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators and authors. In the first movie, the Warrens came to assist the Perron family, who experienced increasingly disturbing events in their farmhouse on Rhode Island in 1971. In the second movie, Ed and Lorraine Warren travel to North London to help a single mother raising 4 children alone in a house plagued by a supernatural spirit, later referred to as the Enfield poltergeist. It involved 2 sisters aged 11 and 13. The Warrens visited the Enfield house in 1978 and were convinced that the events had a supernatural explanation. The third movie revolves around a murder that might be linked to a demonic possession. The movie was another commercial success, despite being criticized for its weaker screenplay compared to its predecessors. The movie is based on the first known court case in the United States in which the defense sought to prove innocence based upon the defendant's claim of demonic possession and denial of personal responsibility for the crime. The judge ruled that such a defense could never be proven and was therefore infeasible in the court of law. The big success of the Conjuring franchise also resulted in release of 3 spin-off movies. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content like this.